the lost Temple of Atzoatl. Halls lined with finery, boxes stuffed with glimmering riches and relics touched by insurmountable power, for eons lost to history. Until now.
Hey everyone, my name is HoodieBee and welcome to my incursion guide for Path of Exile. Carrying on the theme of my Simplified series, I will provide you with all the information and tools needed on this subject, so by the end of the video you can go out there and get cracking with the content immediately. Before we start, I need you guys to real quick drop a like, click the sub button, and sit back, relax and enjoy. As always, timestamps will be in the description box below, so do check that out if there's anything specific that you're looking for in this video. Without any further ado, let's begin. Incursion, the chosen mechanic for the League in patch 3.3. This league revolved around coordinating with our time-trekking daredevil, Alva Valai, encountering her in maps, travelling back in time through temporal incursions, and influencing the construction of the ancient temple. The key concept around this league is quite simple. You encounter Alva, you travel back in time, you create the temple, and then you raid the temple. The execution, however, is a little bit more complex. The reason why it's complex is because you can only visit the past 11 times to influence the rooms in the temple. The temple can only have 15 unique rooms, and at any given time can only present to you 13 rooms. 2 of those rooms will always be the same, that being the entrance and the apex. And to make things worse, each of these rooms can be scaled up to tier 3, and tier 3 is what we're aiming for because at that specific tier is where we get the bulk of the rewards. Tier 2 and tier 1, in my opinion, aren't really worth it. Now here lays another problem. Because we've established that we want tier 3s for the best rewards, every time you go into the past with Alva for an incursion, you're granted with the opportunity to either A. change the room to a desired one or another one, or B. upgrade the existing room to the next tier. Now, we don't get to choose which room we get to upgrade, nor do we get to choose which room that we get to change the room into. It's all under the mercy of RNG. What we can do is plan forward and make the best of any possible situation presented to us. Rooms. Before we get into the rooms, let's establish first how to set the temple's map level. To do this, the game reads off the average level of the maps we ran when we went into our incursions with Alva, and then adds 4 to it. The only restriction being it cannot be higher than the highest map tier we ran. Therefore, a good strategy to employ if you are short on say tier 15 and tier 16 maps is to obtain one tier 16 map, run Alva through it, and then run an additional 3 tier 12 maps. And that's going to spawn a tier 16 temple at the end of it. Now let's break down the rooms we have available into 2 categories. First we have the loot rooms, and then we have the special rooms. Loot rooms. These are very straightforward. What they are is what you'll quite typically get. They are as follows. The Surveyor's Study. This contains chests that drop maps varying in tier. The Vault contains currency varying in rarity. Jeweler's Workshop contains jewellery. Storage Room contains items pulling from all loot tables. Gem Cutter's Workshop, this contains skill gems, and at tier 3 a gem corruption device, which is very sought after for turning gems into level 21 with level 23 quality. Armor's Workshop contains armor of varying rarity, and the Sparring Room, which contains weapons of varying rarity. Now let's talk about special rooms. These rooms in particular have a rather unique interaction or have a unique property associated with them that makes them rather desirable to farm. They are as follows. The Splinter Research Lab. This room contains breaches. The higher the tier, the more breaches available. Sacrificial Chamber. This chamber at tier 3 allows us to sacrifice an item and gives us a chance to get a very rare item from a previous league. For example, this is one way you can get a Headhunter, although very rare. We have the Explosives Room. This room contains explosive charges, and these charges disregard the need to connect a path from room to room. You can effectively skip one path. It's quite niche, but it can have its uses. Next we have the Guardhouse. This room adds monster pack size to the temple. Workshop. This room adds increased quantity to the temple. Shrine of Empowerment. Any room that's adjacent or next to it will get a +1 boost to their tier only if the shrine is at tier 3 itself. If it's not at tier 3, then it's relatively useless. And finally, the Corruption Chamber. At tier 3, this room will allow the player to special corrupt their items, providing rare corruptions that aren't normally obtainable by just vialing an item. So this is the only way you can obtain a 6 socket item that all have white sockets, and also this is the only way to obtain an item with 2 corrupted implicits. Running an incursion. First, we need Alva to spawn in our map. You can do this either through the use of sextants, selecting the Alva master mission, or by randomly encountering her, which is a 2% chance. Next, we need to find her. She spawns 3 times and provides us with 3 opportunities to run an incursion. If you're surrounded by monsters and don't get the opportunity to check the plan of the incursion that she lays out, don't worry. The second you get in the incursion, you have a small window of immunity. During this immunity period, you can open the incursion map with the default hotkey V. Now you can decide on which path to open with the Stone of Passage, and you can choose between upgrading the tier of your room or changing the room completely. On screen in the clip, you'll notice that I decided to change my room from a guardhouse to a corruption altar, purely because I see more value in potentially having the ability to get a tier 3 corruption room than having an increased quantity to my temple in general. As well as this, I also noticed that there wasn't any way of connecting this room to any other room, so I decided to open a pathway from the entrance to this specific room. Is it worth it? It depends. If you're looking for a way to make the most absolute currency, then no, this is not the most ideal way to make currency purely because it's subject heavily to RNG. If you're looking for a way to supplement your currency that you're currently gaining from maps, then yes, temples is probably one of my favorite ways to boost my income, purely because it doesn't take too much effort, and if you use it as a supplementary tool rather than something that you're dependent on, then you'll find that the currency gained is passive and doesn't require much effort on your part. Let me explain. In the temple, the most desired rooms are the corruption room and the sacrificial chamber. The corruption room in particular has the ability to create monstrously powerful equipment, and the sacrificial chamber can potentially drop a headhunter. Although it's a form of gambling, you can be quite economical about this, and offer the rooms for sale, if you're participating in a trade league. This can easily net you a couple of additional exalts in a very short period of time. As well as this, the temple received some buffs in patch 3.10, the most interesting one being that the belt string of servitude can now drop with 2 implicits rather than 1. This has given birth to some very powerful belt combinations, with some reaching prices of up to a mirror. This can be dropped from the temple boss in the Apex room as long as the temple is over level 80. So the final verdict is there is potential to make a lot of money, but don't rely on this as your main form of currency gain. Rather rely on it as something to supplement your gains, whether you're delving, mapping, or bossing, or whatever other activity that you're participating in. That's all from me today, guys. Thanks for checking out the video. I hope I helped cover the basics of running temples and wish you all the luck in plundering them for them sweet, sweet currency gains. If you'd like to hang out with me as I play, you can find my Twitch link in the description box below. I typically stream Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturday mornings. Do check out any of my other videos that I have for my Simplified series if you want to learn a bit more about the different content that the game has to offer. And if there is any specific league content or anything that you want me to cover in particular, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.